Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comics, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Ice Cream Man 33. Yet again, another issue of Ice Cream Man, another pick of the week, another one of the greatest single-issue comics this year, of the last 3 years, of the last 5 years, however long Ice Cream Man's been coming out. This book continues to progress steadily. Now, some may say that this book, especially in this issue, has kind of gone a bit meta. It's kind of lost focus on the narrative. I would disagree. This book does go into really unexpected terrain, especially in this issue. It's almost like the writer's directly talking to us, telling us the types of stories he wishes he could write, but then showing us examples of the types of stories that he does actually write. But once again, it ties into what I feel is the overall theme of Ice Cream Man, at least to me. That's the human condition, the human experience, which is pain and joy, sorrow, suffering, but elation and happiness. That's what this is about to me. And maybe in focusing on the dichotomy of the good versus bad parts of life, it's those nuances in between that really matter. And this book is filled with nuance. It's always blowing my mind. Each issue is innovative, experimental. The artwork by Martin Marazzo, good old Neon on the lettering, Chris O'Halloran on the coloring. Absolutely fantastic. Like I said, this one is about this, basically the writer telling you, hey man, I wish I could write these happy stories. Here's a happy story. Wouldn't that be cool? However, it didn't happen like that. It happened like this. It's about facing reality. And only when we get our heads out of the clouds, look at the hard toughness of reality, then we can understand and appreciate the nuance of life and being human on this planet. I don't know. I just don't know what else to say about this book anymore. W. Maxwell Prince is one of the best writers in comics right now, and it's all right here in Ice Cream Man. And you know I gotta get that Spawn cover. We also have Art Brut #1, also got the Spawn cover of that one. This is a book that was previously released under the title Electric Sublime, but it's by W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Marazzo. So it's the team of Ice Cream Man. This is their work before Ice Cream Man, so Image is republishing it. So I remember reading this, right? Like, I vaguely remembered it when the solicitation came out. But then when I read this first issue, I was like, totally remember this. So it's about this dude named Art Brut, right? He's like an investigator. When people go and mess up paintings, like, paintings are like not just alive, but they have worlds within them, right? So like the Mona Lisa, one day they show up and she's winking. So there's something going on. There's this bureau who's there to investigate this stuff. It's oddball, it's quirky, it's interesting, it's really fun. And if you like Ice Cream Man, I think you'll appreciate this one. It's a really interesting kind of take on a typical, like, strange Bureau of Investigation type story, like X-Files or something, but also has a statement about art a little bit. I thought this book was amazing. Ice Cream Man fans definitely want to check that out. Then we got Nightclub #1 from Mark Millar and Juanan Ramirez. This book was all right. So the idea of this is that these kids become vampires. They decide that they're going to become superheroes. That's a cool enough idea. It's like what Mark Millar does, right? He takes, like, a common movie idea or movie trope and blends it with superheroes, right? So I think it's been like Lost Boys meets superheroes. Okay, I can buy that. I actually didn't think the book was bad, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't define itself outside of just like the tropiness of it, and just it felt typical, it felt very easy, it felt just like it wasn't a lot of effort to be put in here. Not saying anything about the art. The art's pretty solid. At times does feel a bit stagnant, but this just didn't feel like it took much effort from Mark Millar. We'll see where it goes, because by the end, it's a cool development, and we'll see what happens. But that was just an okay first issue. By the way, it is $1.99. $1.99, so that's pretty cool. Hell to Pay is here with issue #2 from Charles Soule. I really did like the first issue of this. Will Sliney on the artwork. I liked the first issue. It's basically about there are 666 hell coins, right? And you can use them to summon demons and command demons and stuff like that. And this couple has been tasked by this organization to go out and find all 666, and then they can be free or something, right? So in the first issue, they go find the last one, but then they find another one, so there's actually more of these things. This gets more into a little bit of the lore, a little bit of the world building, and a little bit of tie-in to modern finance and how that corresponds to demonology, which it does. Anyway, Hell to Pay was pretty cool, and you know I had to get that Spawn cover. So I liked the second issue. Then we got Dark Ride, issue number 3, Spawn cover. Joshua Williamson and, is it Andre Bresson? Yeah, Andre Bresson. Love this book. I think it's really cool. What if Disney World was horror-themed, right? And so this is about this theme park called Horrorland, and it's actually got this nefarious sense of evil and foreboding about it. Like, there's some real nefarious things going on there, right? But it's also about the family that runs this place, the creator, the father, and his children, and they're kind of fighting each other for power and decisions and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's interesting, it's cool. It's the same team from Birthright, I do believe, which was a solid book that I do need to finish. But Dark Ride number 3 did not disappoint, kept that momentum going. Then we got 10,000 Black Feathers, number 4, part of the Bone Orchard Mythos from Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, Dave Stewart, and Steve Wands. I'm pretty sure it's Steve Wands. Steve Wands letters everything, yep, from Jeff Lemire. Had to get the Spawn cover, I mean, of course, but Andrea Sorrentino doing Spawn. That's awesome. That's really flipping cool. Anyway, this is a really solid issue yet again. Very atmospheric, very foreboding. The atmosphere I almost showed you a naked man there. Really like this stuff. It starts getting deeper into some of the ideas that are behind all of these stories so far in the Bone Orchard Mythos. This is all tied together in one mythology, but each story sits on its own, and I've been enjoying this one. It's about this missing girl. It's about her friend who's still there, wondering what happened to her, and as she uncovers this mystery, it widens out the world of the Bone Orchard Mythos. So I really did like that. Jumping over to DC, we got Batman Spawn issue number 1. Had to get the Spawn cover. Batman Spawn issue number 1. Okay, the artwork by Greg Capullo here. Greg Capullo being inked by Todd McFarlane. So that was basically all I wanted out of this project, was Greg Capullo being inked by Todd McFarlane. And those that watch the live streams know that I've been talking about that for a while. I think the art in this book is amazing. The story is decent enough, but for such a simple story, which doesn't waste any time getting it set up, getting Batman and Spawn right at each other's throats until the inevitable team up. And it also leaves some ideas dangling for a potential sequel, and I'm sure they'll do one, right? It's tied more into Spawn current going-ons than it is Batman, but it does feel very firmly placed into Batman's mythology at a certain point, especially at the height of the Court of Owls and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool. The artwork's great. The story setup is all fine. It is just pretty clunky in the writing. Pretty clunky. Some weird stretches here and there. It's an odd way to tell the story. That being said, all I was really wanting was Greg Capullo for every page inked by Todd McFarlane and some Spawn versus Batman action. And that's what we got. So, I liked it. Don't expect much. Don't think it's going to enrich your life with that story. But, I mean, the book couldn't. I love the artwork. Then we got Danger Street, issue number 1 from Tom King, Jorge Fornes, and Dave Stewart. A new Tom King book means he's going to be taking D-list, C-list, B-list DC characters that people don't really know about. Atlas, the Dingbats. Who else they got? Metamorpho. The Creep. Is it Creep or Creeper? I should have looked that up. The Blue Skin, Starman, Warlord, they're all in here. I love Jorge Fornes' artwork. They've worked together before on Rorschach, and Rorschach was a cool book up to a point, but I hated the last 4 issues of that. You get this kind of stuff where it's just like one dude talking for a lot of pages. That's what Tom King likes to do. It's not bad, though. There's a bunch of different disparate story elements that do very successfully come together at the end. It just takes a while to get there because there's a lot of unnecessary verbiage. Let's just say that. Not that there's anything wrong with high verbiage, but it's unnecessary at times. Then we got Dark Crisis Big Bang. This is a one-shot comic book. Kind of takes place after the end of Dark Crisis, which is next week. But we know that, I mean, the heroes are going to win. We already know the new infinite realities are back. It's back to the way it used to be, where there's limitless number of other universes out there. So every Elseworlds book you've ever read, every alternate future, all that stuff exists. Okay, that's cool. That's fine. I actually don't mind that. I think that's awesome. I love multiverse stuff. I love Crisis stuff. This Crisis event has been it's been like, it started off slow. It was building, and then it just kind of stayed where it was, and it never really... We still got one issue. We'll see what happens. But this is basically the Flash, knowing that there are now infinite realities again. Barry Allen decides to go through the multiverse trying to find the Anti-Monitor because he knows the Anti-Monitor's out there starting shit, right? Because he just, obviously, right? And in doing so, he comes across a lot of these universes, and he starts cataloging some of them. So in the back, you get designations for certain Earths, like the Earth where Batman 89 and Superman 78 live, and it's the same one, and it's Earth 789. I like that. I like that a lot. So this book is actually pretty cool, and it's a cool way, like, if you're into the multiverse stuff, and you want to know how it shakes out, where the Jurassic League is, where Dark Knights of Steel is, and all that kind of stuff, that's what you're going to learn in here. But it's a nice, fun, little light story, too. Then we got Wildcats, issue number 2 from Matthew Rosenberg. I'm really liking this story. Is it Steven Segovia? Segovia, Brian. The credit's going to be in the back. Sometimes, yep, the credits are in the back. Sometimes, yeah, Steven Segovia. I'm liking this book. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I do have this nostalgic factor for Wildcats. I do wish we were just straight into the old school days where it's just the Wildcats outside of the DC universe. I don't think they need to be attached to the DC universe. I want to see the Damon Knight stuff. I want to see all of that. That being said, the characters are working together. It's taking some of the best parts of that Jim Lee, Brandon Choi era, a little bit of that Alan Moore, and a lot of influence also from the Joe Casey stuff, which in my opinion was some of the best Wildcats out there. Not often that you would hear me say Joe Casey outwrote Alan Moore, but I think he did on Wildcats. But at the same time, this Wildcats, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm enjoying it. It is a bit too modern, too connected to DC. That's the only thing. I just wish it wasn't connected to the DCU. Seriously. I'm like, hey, you don't need Green Arrow. That's wasted time where we could be getting into some voodoo action, some mall action, something like that. So anyway, Batman Incorporated issue number 3 surprised me with a shockingly kinetic issue. The artwork in this one was absolutely amazing. Ghostmaker's former sidekick, who Ghostmaker believes is dead, is back and is now kidnapped his current sidekick, Clown Hunter, or is it Clown Killer? I can never remember. The artwork is great, though. It does a great job of just being explosive, being in your face, keeping that story moving. Ed Brisson's doing a good job of playing around with these characters, telling the origin of this former sidekick, Ghostmaker, throwing some other things on it. Now, this is a Batman Incorporated book that very underutilizes the characters in Batman Incorporated. This is a Ghostmaker book, is what it is. But that being said, I had a lot of fun with that issue. Thought it was really good. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have the Invincible Iron Man #1, a new relaunched Iron Man by Jerry Duggan, Juan Frigeri, and Brian Valenza. This one was alright. Now, I wasn't into the Cantwell run. I haven't really been into an Iron Man book for a while, to be honest with you. In fact, I think my last favorite solid Iron Man run was the Warren Ellis run. That was the Extremis run. That was a long ass. Well, I forgot about the Matt Fraction run. I do like the Matt Fraction run, I'll say that. Anyway, the Invincible Iron Man by Jerry Duggan, it was just alright. So it just establishes the idea Tony Stark is broke. He doesn't have all the companies and the money and all that stuff. And so he's starting all over again, basically. He's only got one suit of armor, that kind of thing. So it builds the world. It does everything that an issue 1 needs to do. It's got an action sequence. It introduces the idea of a larger story. It tells the story within itself. It has a nice cliffhanger. It reintroduces the origin in a non-ridiculous kind of way. There's an interesting kind of setup with the narrative of why we're seeing this. But at the same time, it just kind of felt like been there, done that. Dull, boring, and flat. So it didn't really wow me. The artwork didn't really get me. It was alright. It was okay. And we'll definitely stick with this for a few more issues and see what happens. But it's definitely an Iron Man story that I've read before. And I mean, that's just gonna happen, right? Then we got Monica Rambeau, Photon, issue #1. First issue of a new miniseries focusing on Monica Rambeau. She's gonna be showing up in the new Marvels book or whatever, and this one's all right. It's written by Eve L. Ewing, and Ewing had written Ironheart for a while, and I really did like that run. And there was some work done on Marvel Team Up. This references a lot of that, and it does introduce Monica Rambeau, her history, and all that kind of stuff. So you're interested in the characters. It's a good way to kind of get caught up on her history, where she is in the Marvel Universe now, and just all that kind of stuff. But it didn't really wow me. It didn't really do anything, and it just kind of felt a little bit disconnected and more like a clip show. I would say that Iron Man was a stronger #1 this week, but this one, like I said, if you want to know Monica Rambeau, go get those early stuff, those Avengers stuff. But you can just get a nice encapsulation of that first issue, but it didn't really do too much for me outside of that. Then we got Dark Web X-Men #1, Jerry Duggan, Phil Noto. So Dark Web, the one-shot which launched it, that came out last week, I thought it was all right. This picks up right after that, right? We saw the X-Men there shopping, Magic, Scott, and Jean, when the attack happens. This is basically like a sequel to Inferno. Basically, Goblin Queen has convinced Ben Reilly, who now goes by Chasm, and they're like neglected clones, so they team up and they unleash the demons of Limbo again. So you got mailboxes like eating people and stuff like that. But this wasn't too bad of an issue. It just basically picks up on the X-Men thread from that first issue of Dark Web. Has some Spidey action. We get Spidey and his amazing friends. It seems like most of this issue is just a setup to have that happen, which we've seen before. They always act like it's the first time we've ever seen Firestar, Iceman, and Spider-Man together in a comic book. They always act like it's the first time. It's not the first time. Plenty of people have done that. Anyway, this was actually not that bad. I thought it was cool. Rod Reese on the artwork. It was decent. It was fine. And this sends Spider-Man directly into his book. So I actually like the way it's all tied in. Like you can pick up their thread in the order of the story. You read the Dark Web one-shot, then you read this, then you read Amazing Spider-Man 15. And this picks up on what's up with Venom. So Venom is involved, and he's been altered a little bit by the Goblin Queen, and now he's reverting back to that I want to eat your brains Venom, but more of a parody of it, not the actual Venom from the early 90s, but like a parody of that. But it's still pretty fun, and it's still pretty cool. I actually liked this issue. I thought it was cool. This is Spidey. He leaves the X-Men in this book, and then he winds up running into Venom, and they have a little bit of a battle, and then more stuff gets elaborated on. Ed McGuinness on the artwork. Really like the artwork. Love his Venom. Really do love his Venom. There's his Chasm. It actually makes Chasm look good. Now, I'm not sold on the idea of Ben Reilly being a bad guy. Just doesn't, I don't know, I just don't really like it. But I love the Venom bits in here, even though he is a parody of his former self. Then we got Deadpool #2. I know, I came back to read issue #2 because I actually liked issue #1. Is this Alyssa Wong? Yes, Alyssa Wong. Is it Martin Coccolo? Yeah, Martin Coccolo on the artwork. I actually like this book. I think it's pretty fun. I liked the second issue. I liked the first one enough, and I wanted to... So, Deadpool's being tasked to take out Dr. Octopus, but in the midst of it, he gets captured by this X-Men villain, I guess, the Harrower, or something like that, and she impregnates Deadpool with, like, a Carnage baby, and while Deadpool's trying to take out Octavius, Carnage baby starts trying to be birthed, and that continues on in this issue, and it's ridiculous, it's dumb, it's fun. I typically don't like Deadpool books, and usually when I do, it doesn't last longer than 6 issues. We'll see about this one, because so far, I'm enjoying this book. I really, really am. Planet Hulk Worldbreaker issue #2. This is by Greg Pak. It's returning to the world of World War Hulk, Planet Hulk, right? Sakaar. But it takes place 1,000 years in the future. Banner's still alive. Amadeus Cho's still alive. And there's some new characters that are introduced. There's a new evil threat, and they got to go find Cho, and these new characters have to go find Banner and bring him out of retirement because he's just been alone on Sakaar. I don't know, it's alright, it's decent, but it's just not clicking for me, so this is probably the last one that I'm going to read. Not that it's bad or anything like that, but it's just got some ideas in there. I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I didn't really like the Amadeus Cho era of Hulk. I didn't really like... I mean, it's got some... There's some interesting ideas, but I don't know. If it's a small week when the next one comes out. Savage Avengers is here with issue #8. I'm loving what David Pepose is doing with this book. It is so much fun. It starts off, basically the big send-off of Conan away from Marvel yet again was the first arc. And then in the second arc, our Savage Avengers are flung into the future, into 2099. That's awesome. I love the 2099 world, and this is the proper 2099 world. It looks cool, and it looks a little bit, it's not like some of the more recent reimaginings they've done of that world. This one still feels very connected to the old school. We got Punisher, Jack Gallows in here. We got Doom 2099. We got some Ultron stuff, some Deathlock stuff. I'm having so much fun with this book, and I think David Pepose is as well. So there you go. From Boom Studios, we got a big surprise for me. This book is called A Vicious Circle, issue number 1. It is $9.99. Didn't realize it was that much. It is one of those Prestige Plus type things. This book is awesome. This book's really cool. So it's written by Mattson Tomlin, who wrote Batman the Imposter, who was one of the co-writers on the recent Batman movie. And it's got artwork by Lee Bermejo. Now, it's a time travel story. It starts off this dude, he's a black man living like the 50s, it seems, not too good of an era, right? And they're dealing with that. And then there's this dude that he keeps locked up in his basement, and then something happens and they get flung through time. Turns out they're displaced in time this whole time. They have to go after each other. He has to go and destroy the first time travel device. The other guy has to go turn it on. It's got all this timey-wimey stuff, but what really cements it is the core of this very tragic, solid-ass story and some really great character work. And then, Lee Bermejo. All right, so it starts off, it's in the 50s, it's like black and white, and then when the timey-wimey stuff starts happening, Lee Bermejo starts changing up his style, his line work changes subtly in certain moments, and the coloring changes. He's doing some great coloring right here, some absolutely fantastic stuff. And then, yes, as they continue to progress through time, the art style changes yet again. There he is in the Civil War, it looks more like an old school painting. I was really, really impressed with Lee Bermejo's work here. Usually I find his artwork to be, I mean, it's solid, but as far as his storytelling, usually it just seems a bit stagnant, just a bit stiff. You know what I'm saying? But this flows. It had a nice pace to it. The writing was great. The dialogue was great. This one kind of soared, and it probably would have been the pick of the week if Ice Cream Man hadn't come out. Then we got Specs issue number 2. It's about these two friends, young teenage friends. They find these glasses, and they get these glasses, and when you put them on, whatever you wish for happens. In the last issue, they wish one of their bullies away, and he just disappears. This is about the ramifications of that and how the specs can be misused. I really like this. It's written by David M. Boer, who is the co-creator of Kanto, with artwork by Chris Sheehan. We got Roman Stevens there as well. Love the artwork, love the story. Thought the second issue carried the momentum over from the first issue really, really well. If that was the setup, this is the building of tension, and it's about to explode, and I'm excited. Then from Archie Comics, we have Happy Horror Days, issue number 1. Pick this one up because it's 3 short holiday horror theme, Christmassy horror type stuff going on here. And our buddy Joe Corallo's got a story in here. So it's got a Jughead the Hunger story by Frank Thierry, and that's cool. Cat Got Your Tongue, which is about this Yule Cat type thing, which is, I thought that was really cute. But then we have Wrath of the Sugar Plum Fairy by our buddy Joe Corallo. And I'm reading this, and I'm digging it. And then when I got to the end of that story, I was like, damn! Good job, Joe. That's how you do short horror stories in comics. They got to have a great, decent setup, a solid follow-through, and a punchy ending, and Joe really delivered there. From Black Box Comics, we have Dream Master, issue number 1. This was a really solid book. So it's written by Jonathan Hedrick, who wrote The Recount. Really cool guy, and that was a really cool book. The artwork is done by Luigi Baracelli. I really liked this book. So it's about this entity, this dude named the Dream Master, who walks the dream realms, and when people get stuck in these nightmares that could be actually hazardous to them, he shows up to kill the nightmares and save the day. It's a simple concept. It was a breeze to read. The artwork was great. I loved the coloring. I thought there were some really cool ideas. It was actually really well put together. We got this awesome wraparound cover. And you got your boy Bueller's name in there. Right there. Yep. Product promotion provided by Comics with Bueller. All in all, this is one of the best black box comics I've ever read. I thought that was absolutely splendid. Then we got Leonide the Vampire. A Christmas for Crows. This is a one-shot comic by Mike Mignola with artwork by Rachel Aragno and Dave Stewart. This one's all right. It's been a while since they've done one of these one-shots already. and I couldn't remember it. I remember that it's about a little girl vampire, so I was kind of lost in here. Like, I feel like there's more of a history, and Mignola does that, where he starts his stuff with a history already, and then they eventually can fill it in. But it didn't really necessarily grab me, because I did feel lost. However, there's an epilogue in here. That's Mike Mignola artwork. We get 1, 2, 3 pages of new Mike Mignola storytelling. It's enough for me. It's enough for me. Then we got Frank Frazetta's Dawn Attack. So this is based on the Dawn Attack painting. So right now, Opus and Frazetta Girls, they've been in collaboration with each other. They did the Death Dealer series, and it's basically works inspired by Frank Frazetta's paintings. So they're building the Frazetta-verse, right? And most of it's all fantasy-driven, but this is one of the more sci-fi things, right? But it is still very much rooted in fantasy. The artwork in this book was really good. I was really surprised at the quality of the artwork in this book. It was really top-notch. I really did enjoy the story and the setup. It's just about this world that's dying. They're running out of food. This princess, her father, the king, has gone off in a spaceship to find an answer to their problems. Look at that beautiful painting. And then you get the wraparound cover, too. Really great stuff there. So he's disappeared. They cobble together another spaceship, and now it's up to her to go off and try to find her lost father and the king of the people, and find hope for their food shortage, right? Solid, easy setup, but the artwork is what sells this book. You know, Dan Panosian's got a cover for this one too. That's pretty freaking rad. Look at that one. Some really good covers for this book. Anyway, I really liked it. I thought it was good. Elvira in Horrorland, issue number 5. This is Elvira in the Fly movie, but not just that. There's other Cronenberg references, including Videodrome and Scanners. I've been on a big David Cronenberg kick lately since we covered Videodrome for Horror Fest, so I really appreciated that. I have loved the series. Sad to see it come to a conclusion, but love the tease at the end about what the next story is going to be. David Avallone does a great job just keeping the campy, fun nature of Elvira prevalent and solid all the way through. And also the references. I mean, they're referencing Videodrome. It's a movie I literally just watched like a couple months ago, so it's fresh in my mind. I love it. My favorite Dynamite books are the Elvira books. They are absolutely splendid. But another one I do like is Sweetie, Candy Vigilante, issue number 3. I'm having a lot of fun with this series. So Sweetie is the daughter of the mythical Candyman, and she runs a candy factory. This is the origin of her, right? Now, I think the artwork's a bit clunky. I even think the story's a bit clunky. It's silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but I'm actually having fun with it. It's not afraid to be sexy. It's not afraid to be gory. It's not afraid to be cartoony, cheeky, silly, and ridiculous. And I appreciate the boldness of it. So I like it. Sweetie Candy Vigilante, 3 issues in. I'm still digging it. Lord of the Jungle number 2. This is from Dan Jurgens with artwork by Francisco. Nope, that's the colorist. Francisco Scala is the colorist, but Benito Gallego is the artist here, and I really like this book. So it's a Tarzan book. It retells the origin of Tarzan, so if you want to see a retelling of the origin of Starman, I just watched John Carpenter's Starman, of Tarzan, you get that, but you also get this other story that's going on where Tarzan's an older man, and he's trying to, he's on a path of vengeance. I really like the artwork. It is sad, it is tragic, it is the typical story of Tarzan, but told with a different framing device that really sets it up to be something interesting. Then we got Cherish, issue number 2. This is from Katana Collins, edited and packaged by our friend Joe Corallo. We had Katana and Joe Corallo on the show talking about this one. Gabriel Cayetano is on the artwork here. I like the artwork. I like the flow of this story. It's about this chick whose dad had invented some kind of nanotechnology. He was betrayed by some of those closest to him. She has spent her whole life training to become a vigilante to take revenge on the people who've done it. So she's kind of like this corporate spy, nanotechnology. It's cool. It's interesting. I really appreciate this book. I think it's pretty solid. Then we got Garbage Pail Kids Origins, issue number 3. I think this is the final issue from now, but pretty certain they want to do more of this if they haven't already announced it. Because it leaves itself dangling for more to come. This is just big, dumb fun, gigantic, moronic splendor. All the Garbage Pail Kids, let's throw them together. Let's try to make some sense out of this. Give them a story, give them all origins, have them have a good guy team and a bad guy team, so it's kind of like Cobra versus G.I. Joe with the Garbage Pail Kids. So I like it. Don't take it too seriously. And if you're buying a Garbage Pail Kids book, I don't think you're going to take it too seriously. My favorite thing, by the way, in all of this, first of all, I love the artwork. It's exactly what you're expecting. My favorite thing, though, is that one of them, I can't remember, the zombie kid. Oh, man, he always is thinking something that is absolutely hilarious. I got to get to this one. So they're all, like, parachuting down, right? Is that the scene? They said they're all going to be parachuting down. They all got parachutes, right? And, but they don't give the zombie kid a parachute. Oh, man, I missed it. Anyway, they won't give the zombie kid a parachute. And he's like, it's unfair. He's thinking to himself, it's unfair that just because I'm dead, I don't get a parachute. Yeah, just because I'm undead doesn't mean I don't deserve the courtesy of a parachute. That was a long explanation just to talk about that one line. And then I want to point out that also this week, the Beware the Eye of Odin trade paperback releases. This is one of my favorite comic books of the year, and if you don't believe me, read the back of this book, because it says, a delightfully fun tale with exciting and dynamic artwork. This is one of my favorite comic books of 2022. 10 out of 10. Pop culture philosophers. So, look, I got another pull quote on a book, so be sure to keep your PCP collection going. You got By the Horns Volume 1 trade paperback. Now you got to get Beware the Eye of Odin. I want to thank Tim Odlin and Doug Wagner. We had them on the show. I did love this book. It is one of my favorites of the year. It's in heavy consideration for my top 20 video that I'm going to be doing in the next week or so. And I'm honored to have a quote there. But even more honored that I got a nice personal note from Tim there. Tim sent me this, and he even did a nice remark for me and signed the book for me. So Tim, thank you so much. Doug, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys allowing me to be a part of this awesome book. And y'all, if you haven't read Beware the Eye of Odin yet, it's Norse adventure. It's fun. It's goofy, right? But it's not like cartoony, right? Like it's got a serious approach, but it doesn't take itself very seriously. I have a lot of fun with this book. I would say it's a delightfully fun tale with exciting and dynamic artwork. This is one of my favorite comics of 2022. So be sure to get that. And just to wrap up, Garbage Pail Kids Origins is exactly what it should be. Cherish is pretty solid. Then we got Lord of the Jungle, interesting, especially if you want to get into the Tarzan stuff for the first time. Sweetie Candy Vigilante, big dumb fun that I absolutely adore. Elvira in Horrorland, love that Cronenberg references in that. Dawn Attack, really did like this book, especially with that artwork. Leonide the Vampire, I was a little bit lost. Dream Master, the best black box comic I have read to date. Happy Horror Days. Joe Corallo and Company doing short, punchy horror stories in comic form correctly. Specs #2, a really great continuing of #1. A Vicious Circle, my big surprise of the week. That's one of the ones to definitely be on the lookout for. Savage Avengers continues to be fun. Planet Hulk's kind of losing me. Deadpool, y'all, I'm liking the Deadpool book. Amazing Spider-Man, I actually liked both of these Dark Web books this week. I thought that was pretty interesting. Photon #1 and Iron Man #1 just didn't quite completely capture me. Batman Incorporated, though, was scintillating and dynamic. Then we got Wildcats. I'm enjoying that, but let's remove it more from the DC Universe. Dark Crisis Big Bang. What's up with the new multiverse? Find out there. Danger Street. Lots of characters that most people don't know, so Tom King can do whatever he wants to with it, and he does it with a lot of words. Batman Spawn. Great art. And then we got Boneyard, or the Bone Orchard Mythos. 10,000 Black Feathers was absolutely splendid. Dark Ride was really fun. Hell to Pay was super solid. Nightclub was okay, but it's $1.99. Art Brut was awesome, especially if you've never read the original version of that. And then Ice Cream Man, pick of the week, yet again, because that book just, it hits. You know what I'm saying? It hits me. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I'm digging. That's what I'm thinking. What are you reading? What are you digging? What are you thinking? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station. Pop, pop, boom.